We're now ready to establish the color of the woman's skin and also at the same time finish up the big color lay-in so that we can see the painting as a whole and see if it's working successfully color-wise. Let's make a start. First thing to do is to apply some medium over the area that we're going to paint and then wipe it back as always. The reason being is that we're going to glaze, and so we want the paint to spread thinly and evenly. Now, as a glazing color, I've mixed up my usual skin color, which is burnt sienna and white. And actually, I've added a little bit of red to it, just to make it a pinker version. And as you can see here, the value is around a 3 or a 4. So, taking that on the brush, wiping the brush off, so there's not a great deal of color on the brush. I then spread this color over the light shapes of the face. And what I'm after is, of course, a skin color, but a skin color that's rather on the high chroma side. The reason being is that once I paint other colors into this, then the chroma is going to drop. All right, it's going to become grayer. So I need to start off a little on the high chroma side. Now I want to spread this everywhere so that I can take a look and see if this is the hue that I want. Do I want it to be pinker? Do I want it to be more golden? Or am I happy with this hue? Next, I add a little red to my mother color, all right, so the basic skin color that I was just using to glaze. And just paint in some red, this redder version here and there where appropriate, certainly in the lips. But also let me tease some in onto the cheeks. You see, I want to test the overall color, see if it's all going to work as a painting. And so far, so good. It's looking very promising. Now, it's time to strengthen the darks. I should have mentioned that I slopped over, when I was applying the glaze, I slopped over onto the dark shapes because I want to be sure that there's plenty of skin-colored glaze over the lights of the figure. So I'm just using burnt umber now just to reestablish the darks and give them a certain warmth. There's not a huge amount of paint on the brush. It's more than dry brush, but certainly not a ton of paint in the brush. So I can control it, you know. Where I need to make it darker, I can just take some more paint on the brush and strengthen any parts that need to be darkened. As under the nose, for instance. Now, I definitely need to get the eyes dark enough. The eyes are, after all, the main focus of the painting, so they need to be strong. So what I'm doing, you see, is just drawing as though I were using a charcoal. Here we go. I'm now strengthening the dark under the nose just by applying more burnt umber, rather more in my brush, but just using the tip of the brush. And darkening the corners of the mouth. Now I'm using that same burnt umber just to clean up the dark shadow side, the shadow shapes where the initial glaze is slopped over, and also just using that same burnt umber just to soften the edges of the shadow shapes. In other words, to make the beginning, anyway, of a blending between the shadows and the lights. Certainly the eyes. As I said, the eyes are the main focus of the painting, so I need to make sure that they are indeed dark and strong. I'm not worried about getting a perfect shape in the iris. There's lots of painting still to be done, overpainting still to be done, but I am concerned to get the full value. Now I have a black and white mixture of gray. So in other words, a light version of the background color. I've added a little blue also to the black just to push the contrast. Now I'm doing this because the lower part of the face is typically grayer, with a male more obviously than with a female. But also because I need to make a harmony, a collegamento, a join between the colors on the face and the colors in the background, to make a harmony, in other words, to harmonize the figure with the background. Now, I've now taken some more of my original glaze color and painted that back into the gray just to make it a little less obvious. And now I have burnt umber on my brush again, and I'm using it to partly model the form, but mostly just to make sure that the bedbug line is a soft transition. Now my original light skin color again, the original glaze, just to tease out the lights at the corner of the mouth. And now the umber again, just to model the shadow side of the nose. As you can see, it's not, the shadow on the nose isn't that dark, so I have to be very cautious. Now I've added some warm whites, that is titanium white with a little cadmium orange mixed in with it, to my original skin color, to my mother color. And I'm now impastoing in that lighter version, that higher value version of the skin color. Now I can do this with reasonable success, reasonable hope for success in the forehead, because foreheads typically are the least chromatic part of the face. But the rest of the face, I have to be really cautious about, because remember that as I lighten something, even with a warm white, I'm also lowering the chroma. And it's very easy to fall into the trap of, oh, I can develop the form by lightening it, and not notice that you're actually then graying the color down. You're lowering the chroma of the face because you're paying attention to the light and dark modeling. So do watch that you're not lightening the light parts of the face too much. Push it, you want to lighten them as much as you can, but still have some chroma. Now, last of all, for this stage, I want to put the background gray, a light version of the background gray, again onto the far part of the body to make it turn back into the background. I'll make it more subtle at a later time. Now this is painted wet into wet, remember, into the initial skin-colored glaze. I just now found the position of the clavicle, and I'm using that gray now on the top of the shoulder, on the trapezius muscle, to turn the form down onto the deltoid. And there we are. This establishes now the painting as it's going to be color-wise. So I now need to just judge, is it working? And yes, indeed it is. Right, so I'm all ready now to start carrying the painting further.